I am pretty sure that by now every one of you watching the video knows about ChatGPT, and you are either using it, exploring it, or just having fun with ChatGPT. In this video, I'll be showing you different techniques to use ChatGPT as a learning tool, and also how you can use it in your day-to-day activities for different scenarios. It's going to be fun, so stay tuned till the end of the video. You might learn something new today. Before getting started, please subscribe to Cube Simplify and press the bell icon so that you do not miss any other video from this particular channel, because there is awesome content that is coming your way. So let's start. So ChatGPT is a generative pre-trained transformer. It is a chatbot to understand the human inputs and generate human-like responses. So basically, a conversation bot that you can have a chat with, and that gives you actual human-like responses and have a lot of information, which is trained on the GPT 3.5 model. And yes, it is now even further trained with user interactions, like you can say whether the output given by chat gpt is correct, is not correct, and give feedback to that as well. Launched by OpenAI. We'll talk about OpenAI more in November 2022, and since then, like, it's not even exponential. It's like a huge spike immediately when it was launched, and people saw the tasks that it is able to perform, the productivity that can be increased using chat gpt. Again, just to put a disclaimer, not everything by chat gpt is true, and there are various things that you should definitely consider while using chat gpt. So let's talk about OpenAI. So this is openai.com, and you can see you can build actually the next gen apps using OpenAI's powerful model. And briefly opening the OpenAI Wikipedia page, so you can see OpenAI is a company under non-profit organization founded in late 2015, and you can see its history, how the trainings and all that stuff happened. But I want to put you in some of the generative models. So first is GPT. Original paper was published on OpenAI's website on June 11th, 2018. Then GPT-2, successor of GPT, announced on February 2019. And yes, it was not fully released initially due to potential misuse. But then in November, it was launched fully. Then you have GPT-3, which is an unsupervised transformer language model and a successor to GPT-2. It came out first, in May 2020, and you can see that it contains over 175 billion parameters. And then you have chat gpt in November 2022. There is also some of the other products like jukebox to create music. Then you have DALI, which is a transformation model to create images. So basically you give an image like a dragon riding a horse, something like that, so it will give you a AI generated image. So this is also very popular tool for that. So coming back to the website, you can see that you can build the next gen website. Most of the popular models are GPT-3, Codex, and DALI. So you have DALI, that is used to build extensive images from the words, and in a matter of just minutes. And you can also use that in as an API, extend that as an API. Then you have a translate natural language to code. It is based on the Codex model. Codex model is a descendant of ChatGPT series, trained on both natural language and billions of lines of code. And the features include like turning comments, completing your next line, similar to what GitHub Copilot is. And you can also try out in the sandbox, which is there, by logging and creating the account. So now that we know the models and we know, like, chat gpt, so let's try out and see how you can actually use it in in your learnings. So again, I'll go back to the Wikipedia. It has a lot of good knowledge. I'll show you where it is. So you can see it has information about chat gpt, when it was built, pre-trained on 3.5, all that features, limitations, and all these services, negative reactions that people gave on chat gpt. Everything is mentioned over here. Like, it is not always correct. There are some things that you should be taking care of. And in education system, like, people are using it for submitting the journals and all these things, which is very concerning for the professors. So when you come to the references, so references are very good. So like, references have a lot of great research papers, articles which are there. One of the most interesting thing that I found was in the article number 15, which is there. No Linux, no problem. Just get AI to hallucinate it for you. So right now, what I'm going to show you, I mean, I was blown away by this. It is amazing. So let's click on this, and meanwhile, you can use Chat GPT easily. So this is chat.openai.com/chat. Obviously, it'll ask you for sign up and then sign in, and then you will be putting the screen on, and you can ask questions over here. So yeah, we'll be going through a lot of examples, but let's start first because we want to learn with Chat GPT. So Chat GPT. Now listen carefully. Chat GPT can actually act as a Linux terminal, and you can do a lot with that. You can learn a lot with this. So no Linux, no problem. And this is what the prompt is. Let's copy and let's paste. I want you to act as a Linux terminal. I will type commands and you will give reply what Linux terminal should show. I want you to only reply with the output in the code block and nothing else. Do not write explanations. Do not type commands unless I instruct. When I need you to type something in English, I will do it so by putting inside the curly braces like this. My first command is pwd. So that is the command and it should after this act as a Linux terminal. So let's press enter. And wow, I just got a Linux terminal and I can just type all the commands. Like if I do ls, it will give me the ls, just like a directory inside a Linux file system. I mean, it's crazy, right? Now taking things further, because we are Kubernetes native people, so we'll go to k3s and we'll copy this command and we'll paste this. So it is taking some time and we'll fast forward this. So you can see that it has actually given you the exact output when you install that particular command, which is basically giving you a single node Kubernetes K3s cluster. And here it is getting, fetching the release and doing all those binaries and creating all that stuff. Now hold your breath because what I'm going to do now will blow your mind. kubectl get nodes. You can see that it is actually acting as perfect Linux terminal and giving me everything. Like it is localhost status is ready and above Kubernetes cluster is in ready state. Like how cool is that? That is where I was saying you can learn with ChatGPT as well. You can learn Linux with ChatGPT. You can run Kubernetes commands, and we can take this forward. We can even take this to the next level. So let's do it. kubectl run nginx with image nginx. So it is based on the previous versions because it doesn't know about the recent versions. So that is why it is saying that the run command will get deprecated, and as of today if you run it will just create a pod, and if you want to create a deployment you have to use kubectl create. So for now it has created the deployment. Let's check that. kubectl get deploy and our deployment is ready. kubectl get pods, and our pod is in running state 37 seconds ago. So it is actually just running a small Kubernetes cluster inside, simulating that as a Linux server, installed Kubernetes, and even run application on that. And the next thing will again blow your mind. So let's do kubectl get pods hyphen wide. What I'm trying here is to get the IP address of this particular pod. Now I'll do a curl on that. And you can see welcome to nginx. So I'm actually able to hit that pod as well. How cool is that? So this is how you can learn with ChatGPT. You can have a Kubernetes cluster created, you can have deployments created, you can have services created. You can do just about a lot of interesting things with Soul, this acting, making ChatGPT act as a Linux terminal. Now, coming to the next part, you can use ChatGPT definitely as a helper tool. So for example, write a Docker file for a Python Flask application. So it gave the response a skeleton of the Docker file which is there. We can actually start and run this. So what we'll do is, let's go here. Let's go to our GitHub. Let's create a repository. Let's name it Chat GPT demo and add a README and create the repository. And let's clone this. And we'll also ask ChatGPT to give us a sample code for this. Can you provide a sample hello world Python Flask application code? So you can see that it gave me the skeleton code. So I can copy this particular code and I can create app.py, paste this code, and I can save the above code this in the same directory as the Docker file. So we'll copy the Docker file as well. So we'll copy this and we'll do vi Docker file, and then we'll try to run this application. And you can see it is running. So we'll go to localhost 5000 and you can see hello world. So our application is running. We also generated a requirements.txt file, and we asked ChatGPT itself like what would be the requirement.txt file for above, and it said that requirement what is requirement.txt file and which package actually that is required in this particular scenario, which is only Flask. So you put this in the same file. So we come back, we see that the Docker image is already built with this particular image, and we can just try to run it as well. I can also push the image, Docker push, and it is pushing the image to the repository. We have a Docker file, we have app.py. Actually, in app.py, just added one more line like the host and the port over here. Anyways, we have built the Docker file as well. Now it's time to run the Docker file. So for that, we'll use Docker run -it, giving the port, the host port and the container port, which is inside, which is 5000. Let's go here and we have hello world. We can also create a deployment file and give me a sample Kubernetes deployment file. So it'll start giving the sample Kubernetes deployment file. That's it. So we can copy this and we can create the deployment file. So I have created and edited just, the names, the replicas, and the image and the container port. So we'll save it. Now we'll deploy kubectl apply deploy. Deployment is created. Basically, we created a Docker file, we created a sample Python application, we were able to containerize it, Dockerize it, and even get a sample YAML file from it. So this is where I want to tell you that ChatGPT can actually act as a helper utility for you to have certain set of tasks that you want to automate or you want help with. Now, some of the other areas where ChatGPT can help is getting some ideas and giving the right set of prompts. Like you can see for Linux there was a proper terminal and a proper prompt which is there so that you get the Linux terminal. So there are various prompts that you can use and use this particular tool chat gpt to increase your productivity. So for example, you can have like, give me 10 ideas to create YouTube videos on Kubernetes and GitOps. So it will start giving you the ideas for tutorial creations and videos creation on Kubernetes and GitOps. So, like for example, let's look at the second one, an in-depth look at GitOps and how it can be used to manage and automate deployments in a Kubernetes cluster. So I think you can get a lot of ideas as well from ChatGPT. Like if you want, if you are into the content creation field, so take advantage of getting those ideas, but always be sure that it was not trained. I think it doesn't have any latest information post 2021, so it doesn't know the actual happenings of 2022, 2023. So the amount of information that it will give you will have limited on the set of knowledge that it is having till that time period. So you always have to take care of that aspect. You can also use it for grammar check, you can also use it for translation, you can also use it for generating some transcripts or generating a little bit of title creation. So title creation for Kubernetes architecture. So it will start giving you some of the title creation, building a high availability Kubernetes cluster, and all those things. So you can see like Kubernetes architecture, the title creation that it is giving might not be so much relevant. So that is where you should know some of the stuff which is there, and that is where you'll be able to judge whatever stuff is making sense and which stuff you just need to ignore from ChatGPT. So it can also help you answer some of the complex concepts. So let's look at one of them, like give an example of Git bisect. So you can see it gives a very good pointer list of what git bisect is and how to do it. An example like git bisect start, may mark the commit that you know is bad, then mark commit that you know is good. Git will now automatically check out a commit in the middle of the range between good and bad, and you can test this. Like if the commit has a bug, mark it as bad, and if a commit does not have a bug, mark it as good, and repeat the steps 4 to 6 until you have found the commit that introduced the bug, and then you do git bisect reset. You can also create some fun interesting things like write GitHub Actions file for building and pushing the image to Docker registry. So once it generates the output, you can see it gave you the skeleton of building and pushing the Docker image as GitHub Actions. So on branch, you use Ubuntu latest and you check out the code. Obviously, these things can change again based on the action because it has only limited knowledge till 2021. And also build it. So it is using Docker build command and attaching the GitHub SHA as well. So even I don't have to explain, it also already explains what all stuff it is doing. So workflow checks out using the checkout, and then it uses Docker build and Docker login command with Docker username and Docker password from the GitHub secrets that you need to configure, and then Docker push command. The name of the image is tagged with a commit SHA. So that's pretty much it, right? It gives you the skeleton, and you can create these skeletons, and then you can start coding. So you can create a helper utilities like pseudo codes, like write me the sample code for Twitter integration and getting the likes on the tweet in Python. So here it is giving you an example Python script that uses Tweepy library to integrate with Twitter API and retrieve the likes on a particular tweet. Now remember that Twitter came up with their V2 API. So this API might or might not work because this is not based on the V2 API which Twitter came out with. So again, depending on the limited knowledge it has, the code that it gives might look like perfect, but some of the code might not work as it is. So this particular code will not work as it is because it is not, currently it will not work because of the API mismatch that is there. So similarly, you need to always identify, take care of all the facts like you should be knowing what you are actually trying to get. So getting pseudo code out of it, getting some helper helper commands out of it, getting skeletons out of it is pretty much very useful in increasing your productivity, and in helps you in your day-to-day life, and also as a learning tool. So you can make ChatGPT behave as a Linux terminal and act it as a learning tool. And the good part is that it explains you the code, which is very good thing. For example, let's try one thing. We asked ChatGPT to write a code for creating a Kubernetes pod. Now it will give you a very good example. So you can see that it has given you the packages that it is using client Go library for creating the pod. Now create a new Kubernetes config. So we need a kube config file to work with. Then create a Kubernetes client. So this particular thing is creating a client set from the config file. Then define the pod. So we are using the core v1 pod, giving the object metadata like name of the pod is my pod, attaching labels to it, giving the spec section of the container with the name, image, ports, and the name of the container would be HTTP and the container port is 80. Closing all this, now we need to create the pod. So we create CTX, and then we use the client set core v1 pod in the default namespace and create function and pass that CTX, and the pod gets created, and after it will print the pod is created. So the script creates a kube config file, then it creates new pod object that has named this, and container named my container with the latest version of nginx, and then it creates a pod in the default namespace using the create method of the pod resource. So so that's pretty neat, right? It gave you, let's try this, so you can see I added pod.go, and I have given a particular cluster cube config file. So let's try to run go run pod.go. Has created the pod. Let's check it. Kubectl get pods grep pod. So you can see my pod is running. How cool is that? Now this is where is the exact benefit. So this is helping you in learning a particular thing. Like if you are learning GoLang and you want to interact with Kubernetes, very good example. If you are learning, CI/CD, or you want to have a GitHub Action skeleton, getting started with it. So it gives you a lot of information about that as well. So here and all, this will help in a very good way to get you started, kick your tires, and create a lot of things. So even when you are creating a website, you can modularize the website and different things, and then you can choose for a specific feature, get a skeleton code, and get started working on that. It can help you with CSS, with HTML, generating simple skeleton files for you, and then you can work on this. So I think all in all, ChatGPT definitely is a very helpful tool in giving you a lot of insights from different perspectives, and giving you a lot of explanations, giving you a lot of skeleton codes, giving you a lot of prompts. Some of the other things that you can do, like top 10 ways to promote your article, so it will give you new ideas, or how to create thumbnails, so it will give you some information. You can use it for marketing, you can use it for writing some tweets for you. Yes, it can generate some tweets for you on certain topics. You can use it, like it's up to you. You can also use it for titles, use it for generating you abstracts, generating you all these things. But again, now you have to take care that the humans are not at risk, because we are using it for productivity, not for anything else. Now, yes, it is becoming a pain for the professors. Like students are completing their homeworks and they are not learning anything because they are becoming too much dependent on ChatGPT. Yeah, that's something that needs to be solved, but it is getting solved because there are detectors. So using OpenAPI itself, people have created detectors. So there are detectors that can detect whether how much percentage is fake and how much percentage is used using ChatGPT, which is good. So more and more ChatGPT stuff is coming in, more and more detectors things will also come in, because and it is important as well. Like I tweeted the other day, that detectors are very useful and they should be there. You can use it, again, use it within your senses. You know what you are doing, and you're trying to learn from ChatGPT and making it as a companion in your day-to-day tasks. It is very good. Being totally dependent on that and saying that it is scary for replacing some of the jobs and stuff, which is, I would say, not at this particular moment. In future there might be, like, chat gpt 4 is able to write a 60,000 page book. So that is something which we'll see when things progress, as things progress. But for now, I think it is able to generate enough good content and enough good responses for you to at least take very good advantages and use your brains to even amplify and use it in a way that even chat gpt cannot think of. So jobs at risk, I don't think so at the moment. I mean, human brain is still more capable of doing a lot more things and thinking out of the box. I think for now you will be using, and we all will be using, and I will be using ChatGPT as a companion tool and not replacing any of the things which is there, and even not replacing for writing blogs, writing content, because it will not give you the accurate information. It will only give you the information till where it was trained, and then it is still learning, and there can be some misinformation as well. So don't think that you can just generate blogs from it and post, generate stuff from it and post. Things will get recognized, like people will start detecting, like there'll be a norm. There's already a norm in universities that anything, any homework, anything is there, you have to run everything through chat gpt, so that people know that this is written by you or by chat gpt. So see, intelligent is both ways, right? Tools are getting intelligent, people are getting even smarter because they have built it. So they'll be building something to detect those things as well. So that's it for this particular video. I wanted to actually show you the Linux thing, because which was very exciting for me. That actually that only led the creation of this particular video. But yeah, you can create docker files and multi-stage build files and all those fancy things, just like I showed you the kubernetes code for interacting with the Kubernetes cluster itself. So all these things are fancy, very helpful in learning. So make use of ChatGPT, good use of ChatGPT with as a learning companion, and don't be feared by it. Learn the technology. Actually, use OpenAI to build some cool bots. So I think that's the way that you should be thinking about, because it has opened up new opportunities, not closed opportunities. So you can even be more powerful now, and don't feel yourself as weak. So that's it for this particular video, and thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, please do share it with your friends, and make sure you subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon, because I'll be creating more and more awesome content like this, and you don't want to miss. So thank you, and see you in the next one.